Good evening, folks, and you're all very welcome to our beer and cider tasting the Waterford way. This is an opportunity to explore and taste a little bit further some of the fabulous products that are produced in Waterford, beers, ciders, and some really nice food tasting opportunities, all from producers that are involved with the Waterford Way, the Waterford Way organisation, which is a collaborative and like an umbrella group for people who are producing in Waterford, be that beers or food, farming, restaurants. And when you see Waterford Way, you kind of know these are connected to this organisation, and it's a really positive initiative for Waterford, very innovative and run by people with lots of energy and dynamism and innovation. And it's a really nice way to explore some Waterford food, of which we have some fine examples. We have a great food heritage in Waterford. Being a big port in the past, there was always lots of exotic food coming into Waterford, long before it came into some other places, even in Europe. We brought in some of the first wine, spices. I think the first coffee came into Ireland through Waterford's port. And while some of that slipped a little bit during the mid-century, it is in fact more vibrant than ever. And thankfully, we the consumers are the benefiter of that, because we have some fabulous producers, particularly in the beer and cider range. So my own name is Julie Ward. I'm a Waterford girl, born and bred, and I'm very proudly a publican's daughter. So my father had a pub in Waterford, and I think that the first sounds and smells that I ever heard were that of bottling beer and cleaning lines and stuff. So it's something very dear to my own heart. I feel quite passionately about it. So it's really exciting that we now have all these very good producers here in Waterford. And I'm now food and wine customer advisor in Arkeen. So I get not only to buy these wines and meet these producers and see what they're doing, and a lot of it is very innovative and cutting edge, but also to taste them and sell them and to bring them to people on the floor. And again, it's something I do feel very passionately about. So I'm very lucky to be working with these people, and I hope you'll enjoy. So what we've done this evening is we're going to meet 4 producers. We have Grania from METALMAN, we have David Dennison from Viking Irish Cider, we have Liam O'Donnell from Legacy Irish Cider in Dungarvan, and we have Claire Dalton from Dungarvan Brewing. So 2 brewers and 2 cider makers, and all from a nice spread within the county. So we're also going to pair them with some food from the producers from the Waterford Way experience. And with tasting beer, it's subjective. What I love, maybe someone else won't. So basically, you just have to have a bit of fun with it. So that's what we're going to have this evening. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Grania.
Hi, Julie.
How are you doing?
Good,
Lovely
thanks.
to meet you again. We meet quite regularly, but nice to be sitting down with a few beers in our hands this time.
For sure.
How are you doing? You're all well?
I'm good. It's we're socially distant, obviously,
Indeed, yes.
As the times necessitate at the moment. But it's nice to be able to get out and see people again face to face.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pity that Harvest Festival can't happen this year.
Yeah,
but it's
that's
brilliant
a real
to
shame.
be able to do something like this instead.
Yeah, and in a way, I think I've done a few online tastings. They're actually really fun.
Really.
So I hope everyone out there has a beer in their hand. Now the range of beer is available from Arkeen stores, online and in store. So you can pick up this particular range of 8 beers, which is great, and you can also go ahead and pick the pairings. But you could just make sure you have something nice in your hand and a nice glass, always important.
Definitely. It's never been a better time, I think, to be a beer drinker in Ireland. There are so many good beers out there, and they're so much more readily available as well. And places like Arkeen stores have such a huge range that there's just really no excuse not to give something new a try.
Yeah, well, in fairness, we couldn't do it without you. So thank you for that. And your innovation is extraordinary, because it's not for the faint-hearted brewing. I always think it's you need to be fairly
it is
full
a lot
of energy
fun.
up early in the morning, kind of.
Yes, I would say I'm definitely not as young as I used to be when I started in this game, but it is a lot of fun making beer, coming up with new recipes, trying to figure out what are the little gaps or niches that you think a new beer could slot into, and what people are looking for, and then trying to make something that's maybe a bit different to what everybody is making. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah,
because it changes a lot. I mean, it's by its nature, it's all about, okay, you have your core ranges, and they're the go-tos, but I mean, it's very important to have kind of new fresh styles coming on, and limited editions.
It keeps us kind of fresh as well, because we want to be able to try and do different things, and it's great fun. Like our pale ale is our main seller.
Yeah, great.
But we make a lot of pale ale, but sometimes you just want to do something a little bit different.
But it is a great introduction, and I know myself, I came to craft beer through a pale ale, yours actually. And for people who I'm a Pilsner drinker mostly, tried a bit of craft, but wasn't too too familiar with the flavors, particularly some of the bitter flavors.
Sure.
And now I'm afraid I can't drink commercial beer at all. Complete convert.
Well, there is nothing wrong with a good Pilsner, that's for sure.
Well, for sure.
But I think there's just so much variety. A lot of people ended up getting a little bit, this is the drink that I drink and I don't drink anything else.
Yeah.
And it's just having that variety now means that there's less commitment to a single commercial brand and more experimentation with the actual flavors of a beer. So you can love a brand but not like any of their beers, or you can love a beer from a brand that you don't really feel a connection with.
Yeah.
But the options are out there at least to try different things.
Absolutely. And also I think you can slow down a little bit with craft beer. And not necessarily, I know.
It's a marathon, not a race, not a sprint.
Well, exactly. But we often maybe went a bit towards quantity, whereas now I think people are really kind of thinking, okay, I'm going to buy this maybe on a mix and match for a tenner, but that's it then. You're not thinking of volumes, and I think that's really good.
I think it's more considered drinking because you're drinking something for the flavour of it and understanding a little bit more about what it is you're drinking, rather than kind of drinking by rote and just, it's just the same thing that you've been, it's the same as the last beer, the next beer might be the same, and you sort of forget what it is you're doing, and it turns into the act of drinking rather than the act of tasting.
Yeah, and there is a lovely kind of community around it.
Very much so, yes. The craft beer industry in Ireland is very collaborative and a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think even for the drinker, there's fun, coming in and saying, oh, I had this last night and you tried it.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think you'd really do that about commercial beer. You're not going to...
not really. That is one of the fun things about it, and you can bring something new to the table and say, I tried this. Have you tasted it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Where can I get it? And what did you like about it? And what did you not like about it? And I think there's more to talk about, I think, with craft beer.
For sure. Well, let's taste some.
Too much talking, not enough tasting.
Okay, so first we're going to go, tell us about the first beer. We're having a Tomium.
We're going to start off lightly with this 7.2% Belgian Amber.
Yeah, okay.
So this is a beer that we canned for the first time this summer. It's quite strong, as I said, 7.2%. It's amber and brewed with a Belgian yeast. So it's got a lot of spicy banana clove sort of flavors.
You had me at spicy.
Glass there, I'll pour.
Right.
There we go.
That looks
nice
so
and
good.
Effervescent.
Beautiful.
And so it's nice and amber, a little bit of haze. It's not filtered. A nice creamy head on it. If you smell it, you'll get all of that nice spice. It's quite sweet on the nose as well, because there's a lot of residual sugar, and the sort of banana and clove character,
absolutely,
that comes from the yeast. So
really
that is
strong.
all done by the yeast.
Yeah, I think this is something people get a bit confused about when they're, it was very much there in wine, detecting different notes, and are they putting bananas in? It's like,
absolutely
this comes
no
from
bananas
the
were
yeast.
harmed in the making of this beer. The
good.
only thing we do add in this particular beer is a little coriander, just to sort of accentuate some of that spice on the finish. But
that tastes, smells great.
So then when you taste it, you've got that full body.
Yeah, gosh, the banana's so good on that.
Yeah, it really, really comes through.
Absolutely.
So this is fun.
So what we've picked here is a beautiful Waterford cheddar. This is Knockanore, and it's the Lunrigan family in Knockanore. And I should say that the Irish translation for Knockanore is Hill of Gold. So would you like your dairy herd to come from such a place? I certainly would. So straight away, and I think even looking at it, like, it's a beautiful colour. So it's a classic cheddar. It's raw milk from their Frisian herd, and they've been milking for about 60 years and making cheese more latterly. I mean, cheddar is a great go-to with any kind of beer. And as I said, you might find other ones, but personally, I just thought this was lovely. It's creamy. It's just got a lovely mouthfeel, and yet the fat, I think, actually kind of is cleansing of the palate. So it's really good. Now we should taste it separately and then with the beer. This is really how they do it in all the best tasting places. So have a little taste there. So
Don't
cheers
mind
to
if
the
I
Lunrigan
do.
family. So you can see it's not really it's not a big, heavy, hard-hitting, chalky cheese. There's a lovely smoothie cream
not
just
chalky at all.
No, very smooth. I think the strong flavours in this, I think, would they'd be quite suitable for each other.
Yeah, 100%.
We're gonna go with both.
So what I like to do, particularly with cheese, is take a drink, hold the beer in my mouth, and then taste the cheese while there's still some beer in my mouth, and then you kind of get a really good.
And even let a little bit of air in, which is not always the easiest, but that's always a good idea too. Certainly with wine, I know it kind of allows you to taste it a bit better. Oh, that's good. Great. And the thing with tasting as well, I think some people think, you know, you're pouring it. I think it's so important. Like, fine, you can drink it out of the can, but I think it's so important to see the beer.
It is
You know,
nice.
I've talked about a beer to someone and I said, I wasn't so crazy about it, and he loved it. And it turned out he poured it and I'd missed all the colour that was in the beer. So, you know, you really have to, like, I think you have to see it, smell it, taste it, and then just savour it, because all the bitter, the sensory notes are in the back of your throat. So you're not going to get those bitterness if you don't spit beer out if you're tasting it, thankfully, unlike wine. So
Well, you could, but you get some funny looks.
well, yes, but the alcohol
be such a
content, you
shame.
mightn't really get through too many.
I think that's an exceptional pairing,
gorgeous.
Julie. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well done. That is
No,
quite a
fantastic.
beer. That is quite a beer. It's extraordinary. And our next one is going to be a bit of fun. So we have, Grania, tell us all about it.
So this is a beer that we first made in 2016. And then we didn't make it for a couple of years because various things got in the way. It takes a while to make because it's what we call a kettle sour.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more involved than just making a regular beer. But we actually add lactobacillus to the beer in the early stage of the brewing process, and that deliberately sours the beer. And then we finish brewing it kind of like a regular beer. But once we're finished the fermentation, we then add raspberry and chili. Now, the first time we made this beer, we used frozen raspberries and dried chilies, which the raspberries were lovely to work with. They came from a local farm, but they are quite difficult to handle in the brewing process.
Right.
So when we revisited what we were doing, we looked at what we wanted to do differently, and we wanted bigger, punchier raspberry, more raspberry flavor, and we realized we weren't really going to be able to get that on a practical level with using whole fruit. So we started researching options around purees and concentrates. So this beer is made with a combination of raspberry puree and raspberry concentrate, dried bird's eye chilies. So what you get is a beautiful, vibrant pink beer, very tart, and with a lovely warmth on the finish from the chilies.
Great.
So if you tilt your glass there again.
Oh, wow. Great. Oh, and that lovely blush in the head.
foam as well.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Now,
Oh,
unfortunately, head retention on sour beers can be a bit
yes.
challenging.
Well, actually, I think that's pretty good.
I think
you
it's
know,
gonna
I've
be-
often, by the time I finish pouring it, it's
gonna be
actually gone.
And I'm
Yeah.
looking at the atomium as well. The head retention could be better on that as well, but
We could have.
don't worry about
the
it
cheese
too
could have caused
much.
that.
So you've got that beautiful red colour.
So, I mean, sours are a big thing now, and yet people they're wary of them. You know, I suppose the very name
Yeah.
a little bit unfamiliar, but really they're very approachable. You need to start somewhere, and
I completely agree. And what I find is a lot of whether somebody is going to like a sour beer or not comes down to their expectation before they even raise the glass to their lips. So if they're expecting it to taste like a beer or a lager or an ale or something like that, they will just be completely sideswiped by what they actually get. Whereas what I often do is say to somebody, think white wine or cider. That's the ballpark you're starting from.
which can be
and it's a
confusing if you're not
beer.
expecting it. Whereas if you are
Exactly.
expecting it to taste like that, it's
So
much
when you
easier.
sort of set that expectation and tell people it's supposed to taste that, you know, you've got that tartness or bitterness, then people start to have, they come at it from a different angle, their preconceptions are moved, and as a result then they're more likely to taste the flavours of the beer before they judge it.
and not be busy thinking, oh, this is
This
unfamiliar.
is wrong, this doesn't taste like beer, so it's wrong.
Great.
So on this one,
Okay.
you've got all the raspberry on the nose.
Absolutely,
It kind
yeah.
of jumps out at you. And then the body of the beer then is light.
Very.
And
It's like a Perry almost, isn't it?
it's 4.5%, so there's not,
Yeah.
you know, it's not going to do as much damage potentially as the
I think there's so
atomium
much
did.
going on flavour-wise that it doesn't need any more alcohol.
No,
like.
100%.
And in fact, the alcohol is very
it could
neutral.
be lower, so we wanted to keep it low and approachable from that point of view. The finish on it is clean and dry.
Absolutely.
But once you take a couple of sips, you start getting that warmth from the chilies through.
Yeah.
So
And in fact, you know, it's, I mean, you can get it because you'll feel the sours in the side of your mouth.
dry, it's dry and it's tart.
Lovely, but it's not like, it's not eye-watering. And I've, some of them I like a sour, but when I was coming to them first, certainly, they can be challenging.
Yeah, well, we managed the pH on this one because we wanted to keep it in that range where it's not like. And then the addition of the raspberry as well helps. While the raspberry is tart in its own way, it's sort of a different kind of tart. I don't really know the ins and outs of the chemistry.
It's nice in that citrus. You have to kind of like citrus flavors if you're drinking a good bit of craft beer. But it's nice to go away from the citrus for a while and go with a more berry and also a very autumnal. It would be lovely for this time of the year. Yeah,
the very first time we brewed this, it was released as an autumn sour.
There's something lovely about the name as well. The name got me before I even knew what was in it, because it just feels like, you're on the ras, and, we all need a bit of that at the moment. Well, the pairing we have for this is something quite nice. It's something a little bit interesting. We have some Baldwin's ice cream. I'm going to just pop in here.
Wonderful.
So Baldwin's ice cream is a neighbour to our cheesemaker. This is Thomas Baldwin from Knockanore, that Valley of Gold or Hill of Gold, with his own herd of beautiful cattle in West Waterford. So Knockanore is kind of near Capquin. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're up around the Commerce, wonderful part of the world. Fabulous food heritage up there. And again, all the cream and the milk comes from their farm. And could you ask for better? And this is like really popular, available in a lot of the nice, it's really in a lot of the nice restaurants and stuff, so wonderful. It's quite accessible. So what we have here, we have the chocolate, which is beautifully at the right temperature for pairing with this. And I, as a child, I used to love a float. I don't know about you, you're a bit younger than me, Grania, but we used to go to Mackey's on the Quay in Waterford, if anyone remembers Mackey's on the Quay, for a float. And I still love a radler, particularly like an Austrian radler, where it's kind of like a cream soda rather than just a shandy. I mean, I should explain again, a radler being, it's a shandy really, but it's kind of a little bit nicer than just a shandy. I should have opened this beforehand. I'm not sure. Okay, Grania, you have a go with that one.
Okay.
So I like the idea of the fruit and the sourness. Yeah. What do you think, vanilla or chocolate?
I think in the interest of science, we should try both. So I'm going to take a scoop of the vanilla.
Very good. Something tells me they might even need a second tasting.
You can't be too...
Look at this. I mean, this is just gorgeous. So beautiful egg custard, West Waterford, happy cows and vanilla. So again, you're going to get these lovely sweet, sour, and lovely acidity. One sweetness balancing the acidity.
Okay, I'm going to start with the chocolate.
Oh, it's so creamy.
That's pretty good. Mm.
Very good.
Okay, let's assess the chocolate.
And lovely big piece of chocolate.
That's pretty good. Now, vanilla.
Oh yeah, I'm a big vanilla fan actually. Particularly where you can actually just really taste the cream content in there and the vanilla and the eggs. Beautiful ingredients. Gee, I hope you all have some ice cream back at home.
Oh yeah, vanilla all the way.
Yeah. Chocolate's great. It's great as an ice cream, but I think with that one, that is so good. I mean, vanilla and raspberries and chili. Beautiful.
Oh, that's so good. You know what?
I've more to taste, Grania. I can't do Good for you. Okay. I'm going with the two. Good for you.
Float idea.
We're back in Mackey's on the Quay. Actually, we are on the Quay. Mackey's was a lovely old shop in Waterford years ago, and you could go in and get a Knickerbocker Glory if you're as old as me. Cheers, folks. Oh, that's very good. I mean, it's like a dessert,
An adult's dessert.
Yeah, well, we're adults. Grania, thank you so much. That was lovely.
You're welcome.
Really
Thanks
fun.
for having me.
And listen, fair play to you.
Keep
to you both, and to Tim, who's not here.
Tim couldn't make it today. He's back doing some real work.
Tim's great. Tim's always on the road delivering and sending you out new info and stuff. So look, I mean, it's great, and we really do. And actually, I also love the fact that you're in the jute factory, which is repurposing these buildings. Yeah. That pub that my father talked about was on the top of Barry Street. So. Only 300 or 400 yards from where you are. So amazing. I love to see those buildings repurposed and for something so dynamic as well.
There's real spirit in that part of town.
Absolutely. It's lovely to see the energy when you go up. It kind of looks a bit sleepy, and then once you go in, there's loads of fun stuff going on.
That's
Gráinne,
it.
thanks very much. That was great.
Cheers, Julie. Thanks.
Cheers.